Ladies and gentlemen, we start off with this SME panel, Building a Startup Ecosystem. And I will take this privilege of welcoming on stage our speakers and chairperson. Mr. Aritra Sarkar, CEO, Wedoria Technologies. May I request you, sir, to kindly come onto the dais and take your seat. Mr. Shafquat Haider, Chairman, Council for Communication and IT, SAARC Chambers of Commerce and Industry. May I request you, sir, to kindly come onto the dais and take your seat. Dr. Mousumi Ghosh, Founder, Trustee and Director, Team Future. Ma'am, we request you to kindly come onto the dais and take your seat. Mr. Sanjay Mehta, Angel and PE Investor, Director CPF Programs at Core Media, Investor in Cryptocurrency and Blockchain. May I request you to take your seat, sir. Mr. U.P. Shah, Director, Department of Information Technology and E-Governance, Government of Jharkhand. We request you to take your seat on the dais, sir. And our chairperson for this session is Mr. Aparup Sengupta, Founder and Chairman, Arch Global Foundation, co-founder and partner, Capital Square Partners. May I request you to take your seat as the chairperson, sir. And I will now hand over the entire session to our chairperson.
A very good evening. It is like having appetizer after the dessert is done in a very sumptuous dinner evening. So what we decided was, instead of going monologue, we'll try to make it as interactive as possible and throw it to the audience and try to wind up a little early because the whole sessions have been running a little late. So I think it has been a very exciting time we had. The topic at question is about what it takes to build a startup ecosystem. And frankly speaking, it's a very profound subject. One can have a thesis dissertation around this, but we will go around the panelists and ask them what they think about this whole idea. But I think a few points that I would like to bring to the table is a startup ecosystem is all about, starts with an inspiration, imagination. And once this inspiration and imagination is at place, we find investments coming in to support those inspiration and imagination. A case in point is Silicon Valley. And the ability to take risks and the freedom to fail, that's very, very critical. An ecosystem, that allows people to fail is something which is very, very critical. And I think we will hear some of those stories from this august panelist who have been entrepreneurs, who have been investors, who have managed institutions, and so on and so forth. Finally, let's ponder and start with a few questions. If you look at Bengal and per se Calcutta, if that's the epicenter in this place, what is successful and why is it not so successful across industries? And likewise, when you go back and to a city like Bangalore or Bombay, why are they what they are? And why are they what they should have been, but they are not? So those are some of the profound questions that one needs to answer, and one needs to find out the real reason behind it. Some examples. If you look at any startup that starts, it starts with very small activity. And to give you an example, let's say Joynagar Moa, which is invented maybe in Bengal, was something that was started by one guy and it became a phenomenon. And it's known to all Bengalis at least. If you look at this guy, Colonel Sanders, who fried chicken in his backyard, which later became Kentucky Fried Chicken. Or maybe Starbucks, which was maybe the 140th coffee store opening at the backyard in Seattle, which becomes a brand that is known and recognized. What happened? What worked and what did not work? So we will dwell on that. So without much ado, I would like to ask a few questions and find out. The first question from my side being, what do you think are the ingredients of making a startup ecosystem? I'll start with you, Mousumi.
The ingredients, you mean? I'll tell you a small story. In fact, when I quit my job, I was teaching finance at IIM Calcutta. And when I quit it to start my entrepreneurship journey, somebody went and congratulated my father, saying, in fact, both my husband and myself, we quit our jobs. He quit PwC, I quit IIMC. So he said, I'll tell it in Bengali and then I'll translate it. After all, after this session, which has gone, so I think we need to get back to tune. Which is, he said, so the gentleman said that, both your daughter and your son-in-law seem to be very courageous people. Both of them quit. And that was our late 30s, early 40s in terms of, we were batchmates, so we were of the same age. So my father said, Shishu sharulle agune hat dewa. That is, a child, when the child puts his or her hand in the fire, it is not that he's very brave. It is only that he doesn't know the hazards. So I'll start with this dialogue. Maybe we'll proceed as we go.
Sanjay, you have been an angel, you have been investing in so many companies, you have seen a lot of successes in some of your investment. In fact, we were talking in the morning during the jury session. In one investment, he made 280 times. So let's say if he's put $100, that's multiplied by 280 what he's got. So therefore, there are phenomenal success stories that he has been a part of. So Sanjay, when you talk of ecosystem, what do you really mean by that? I mean, when as an investor, that would I invest in a startup in Kolkata, which is, if I say Bengal as an ecosystem, if yes, why? If not, why not?
So, from the geography perspective, I have only one investment out here, which is Wow Momo. And while we did across, it was a fairly advanced, it was not at a seed stage. It was more of a mature startup. But while so I'm based out of Mumbai, and averagely being a full-time angel investor would evaluate almost 3 pitches a day kind of stuff. While I look at the pitches, I get very few pitches which are coming from this part of the region. And beyond that, I don't see them coming and pitching over in Mumbai. While I've seen across Bangalore startups, Delhi startups getting funded from Mumbai, very few from this part of the region comes across and pitches to all the investors. Maybe it's just the inherent saying that we will not like to go outside of this circle or that comfort zone of a known set of investors, or basic culture which is built within the universities or student culture, where they are not trying to explore this new option of raising investments outside the known circle.
Okay, great. Aritra, I think you are an entrepreneur from Bengal, am I right? A hardcore Bengali and an entrepreneur from Bengal. Not the classical Anandabajar inheritance, but doing something very, very different. What was the kira, if I can use that word, that worked, and why did you start this? And when you wake up in the morning, what scares you and what excites you?
Actually, the trigger for me over here is the fact that there was really nothing here. So a vacuum, I believe, is always an opportunity for someone to come in and position himself or herself in a positive light. So I tried to sort of look at a glass half, instead of looking at the glass half empty, looking at it as a glass half full. There are challenges, of course, in Calcutta, just like in any other place. A dearth of talent, dearth of a proper ecosystem, as you pointed out. But there are also a lot of other opportunities, which is that I think the costs of doing business are still lower. And it is also, I think, relatively easier to get something, I would say, a bit more entrenched. So it might be harder to start it off, but once you reach a certain critical level, I think you can actually get a more sustenance here, because people are less reluctant to shift to new competition.
Okay, great. Okay, Mr. Haider, you are part of a chamber, and then you have seen multiple countries, initiatives at an aggregate level. And Aritra just said that one of the value proposition of Kolkata is that it is cheap, of doing business. But isn't it an oxymoron where California is the most expensive place in US, but most startups tend to go and make themselves formed in the valley, and they feel that the probability of success is very high, and that's why they go to the valley, though it is the most expensive city of doing business in terms of labor, in terms of real estate, in terms of other costs. So what is your view on that?
First of all, I'd like to thank the organizers for having invited me here. It's an honor. I bring you greetings and welcome from the people of Bangladesh. Thank you for the question. First of all, I'd like to join ma'am that I was also working for a multinational, and I quit in half an hour's decision and it came out on my own. So that's a different world altogether. So coming back to your question essentially on what makes you go to California, not here, is the perception thing, I think, first. Perception is very important. And the other side of the valley is always greener, if I may use that word. But the other thing which goes in a place like California and not in our part of the world or this region is the fact that the whole ecosystem of facilities being available to take on challenges, the productivity part of it, the other hurdles which are missing, which are maybe a little, unfortunately, inherent in our system here. Things don't look, you talk about one-stop solutions, but they don't happen that way. So that's something where this fluidity is something which makes
So therefore it goes back to the ecosystem, that's what you're saying.
It goes back to the ecosystem, absolutely.
Yeah.
To me,
Yeah, go ahead,
yes.
go ahead.
Actually, I completely agree with you. I do feel that there's one important aspect which I think you should take a note of, which is that the level of trust within a society at that particular place, and in particular, the level of openness to outsiders. Mm-hmm. So, for example, if you look at, let's say, San Francisco, or let's say even Los Angeles, which is, let's say, Hollywood, then they are very accepting of anyone who comes with a talent. You know? So you don't necessarily have to know someone to actually penetrate that system. That is not the case in most societies and most cities.
So are you saying Calcutta is not welcoming enough?
No, I would say it's not that it's not welcoming, but when it comes to actually accepting someone to do business or to get into a transaction, a much higher level of trust is typically required. But the interesting thing is that when the situation is merit-driven, like for example, in when its ideas are merit-driven, and there's a clear, transparent way to evaluate an idea or a talent on its terms without necessarily going into the background of the person, that's where I think some of these ecosystems flourish, because there's no baggage that anyone has to really...
I will come back to this baggage part a little later as part of the proceedings and maybe involve the audience. Mr. Shah, I mean, if you want to think of, let's say, a startup ecosystem, how critical it is to have access to capital, access to ideas, and capability of people, risk-taking capability of people. If I have to take these three criteria, what do you think is a mix, and where do you think maybe Calcutta or we are going wrong, and what should we do?
Thank you. Being a representative of government of Jharkhand, we as a government think that government should act as a guardian for the startups, because for Jharkhand this startup is a new word, and new entrepreneurs, new budding entrepreneurs are coming up, and they have a lot of expectation from government, because presently there are no infrastructure in Jharkhand. So government of Jharkhand is trying to develop the ecosystem on different parameters. It is at the area of infrastructure, motivational, because the startup word is very few persons are aware of this word, and for that we have organized last year a hackathon, the first time in Eastern Zone after Calcutta. So creating awareness is also very important for us, as well as supporting through our policy and creating infrastructure, like we are trying to set up one innovation lab with the help of IIM Ahmedabad, and we are trying to inculcate the culture of startups, because in Jharkhand it is really very lagging, and to support the new startups, we have to understand what is the startup is and how we can help them to come up with other states like Karnataka, Bangalore, etc. So we have built up one policy based on the study of different state policy and even the international policy also, and we are trying to inculcate this culture in Jharkhand.
Okay.
Here,
sure.
most of the time, all the governments across India, especially coming from Maharashtra and Mumbai, the startup policy is real estate policy, right? So you go to those startup policy events, these are all real estate builders who are trying to, get those incentives to build those buildings.
Right.
That's not startup need.
Exactly.
Actually, in Jharkhand, we are not, I am not agree with his comments, because in Jharkhand, we are trying to set up infrastructure in a spoke and hub model. We are trying to set up one government-run central innovation lab at our Ranchi center with 10,000 square feet built up area, and we are trying to accommodate all type of ideas, and the other incubation center will act as a child of that central innovation lab, and by the next January we will able to start the letting out our premises to the students.
It's coming back to the real estate, right?
No,
you are
it
giving
is actually
infrastructure.
If we are providing infrastructure, we are providing mentorship, we are trying to educate, we are trying to inculcate the this type of culture in institution systems. So in all angle, we are trying to support the.
Yeah, I understand. So Sanjay just mentioned a very interesting thing, and I think I picked up that point, and I would like to ask this question to Dr. Mousumi Ghosh. Sanjay said that I see at least 3 pitch every day as a full-time angel. And while he does that, he also mentioned that I hardly see anything coming from Calcutta. Here is a very profound question to you. You have been a faculty of one of the premium institutes here in IIM for last 15 years. There have been so many people who created startups, went to other places, maybe the Valley, New York, or other parts of the country. Many of them have become millionaires. Why did such stories not get created in this part of the world, especially Calcutta?
I think that's a very, very pertinent question. In fact, I'll cut short to future, which we've built up as a team for the last 15 years. IIM still one understands, you see, the cream of the country, 70-80% go through IITs, IIMs, they are the best. The entire world is there for them. So the marginal utility is what they look at, the ease of doing business, scaling up, things like that. I'll come to future. In fact, we had a very humble student. He didn't even do his engineering. He did his MCA. And today, his driverless electric cars have been funded by Y Combinator, and all the campuses of the US, you can see him. I asked Jeet Raichaudhuri, who passed out from Future Institute of Engineering and Management as an MCA student. Jeet, what was this turning point in you? In fact, I went to San Francisco, and I went and saw his garage from where he started, the typical startup story.
Right.
And I did ask him that Oro Robotics, I think that's his company name, that Jeet, what is the turning point? He said the turning point is when I went to the principal, and he did give me a little bit of funding to go to IIT Kharagpur so that I could go for that robotics, I think it was a quiz kind of thing, or a fest, where he met 2 IIT guys, and 3 of them decided that they would stay in India and do this. Okay, that was the first part. Then he gave me a list of hassles that they went through, and because they were very young, they said, no point, we'll go abroad.
Right.
Yeah. One was the chaos. 2, they did not find the environment welcoming. This I'm telling you from a 22-year-old kid who went off at that point of time. Today he's in his early 30s.
Right.
So he did not find the ecosystem welcoming enough. Maybe he could not reach Mr. Mehta. True, he was from this region, a very shy boy, couldn't speak English at that point of time. Today he can speak. In fact, we videotaped him. Mm-hmm. But the fact is that boy was not feeling comfortable here And coming from a distant town with the two buddies, he went to California and found that inviting is something which needs deep introspection from our end. In the same breath, I would tell you that I think last year, I went to Jharkhand for INFOCOM. I was amazed by the eagerness and warmth that I received there, because education, we've been there for 15 years.
Right.
Healthcare, we've started about a year back, so I would call that a startup almost. I don't know whether I should mention this. That kind of warmth, I don't think I felt prior to my going to Jharkhand.
Excellent. So it's a very interesting part you mentioned that on the one hand you are finding a neighboring state which is struggling to rebuild itself and come back to glory, where Calcutta was probably glorious, and we have been there, done that, starting from Rabindranath Tagore to Amartya Sen to Satyajit Ray, and that's where it ended probably. And that's what we keep on talking. My question is, maybe I'll point it to Aritra and then start involving the audience at some point in time, is that do you think that in our childhood we were ingrained with this whole idea, Bengali phrase, Amar Shantan Jeno Thake Dudhe Bhate, which is Porashona Koro, Chakri Koro, get a job, and then don't venture into anything which is to do with business and risk. Is Bengali or this part of the ecosystem inherently makes you risk averse? Is that the reason?
Arup, I have a very clear cut. Most of the engineering, MBA institutes across India highlight saying that these are the guys, companies which we have done placement.
Campus.
Their whole focus is 100% placement. It's all about getting a job. We don't see any heroes coming out saying that, okay, this were 20 entrepreneurs which we have created from this campus.
Right.
Everything is about job placement.
I would like to take a take on this.
At least IIT guys have got now e-cell, things have started. But rest of the places, it's all about, positioning the placement. And that's a typical mindset which is going through.
Yeah, sure.
Can I just have a comment on this?
She will interject,
that
yes.
It's so true.
So good, make it like...
Issue is we do have entrepreneurship development cells. Till the time the students are placed, they come to the cell very often. Once it is placed, the placement starts, gradually the numbers dwindle. That's true. We've seen that.
Right. Yeah, Aritra, go ahead.
Yeah. So one, of course, is, as you've rightly said, I think the hollowing out of industry over the last 35, 40 years has really spelt, in a sense, the death knell for the talent that exists over here. So a lot of the problems that we see is really a fallout of that. But that being said also, if you really think of what a startup means, sometimes we think in terms of technology automatically,
Right.
And when we think of startup ecosystem, we think of an ecosystem around technology. So there's an inherent assumption that startups can only spawn within the tech sector, But I would actually challenge why that is so. Why can't you have startups within governance? Why can't you have startups within the auto sector?
Right.
Why can't you have startups within art, within textiles? And these are areas where Bengal has strengths in. And these are areas where you don't necessarily, need to have a technological background. So I think we need, probably we need much greater development of new age mobile platforms to enable creativity and innovation across a wider population, and then get them connected through these methods.
Can I add?
Yeah, go ahead. I think you have some views.
I just wanted to add
You
something.
can use that, actually. We have mics for all of us. Yes.
Yeah,
It'll work.
it's working.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just wanted to add to something which you said in terms of the effect of the society around you. Your elders are not very comfortable yet to get out of the comfort zone of jobs.
Right.
Okay? I will add to this because nowadays, as you see, it's oft repeated that skills, apprenticeship is the thing to do. I was recently in Australia that skills has gone so deep down in the psyche that they've started at class 7. The child doesn't know that he's being taught skills, but is coming into the system. So this acceptability, this equality of in the total sphere of things is not there. It's still missing. It's a long way to go.
Okay.
So I completely agree with you, but there's one inherent contradiction in the Bengali, which I think, or in the people of this region, which you might say, is that people are not, are not very keen on breaking out of their comfort zone when it comes to jobs and security. But I think when it comes to accepting radically new ideas, accepting new ideas, people have a stronger urge to do so. So I've had first-hand experience with that. For example, about 4 or 5 years ago, we organized a program called Cadbury Mishti, which was a contest involving all the sweet shops of Bengal to manufacture sweets with Cadbury as an ingredient. Now, this was a program which was instituted in India for the first time. It wasn't instituted anywhere else. And it was a roaring success, and Cadbury sales went up tremendously as a result, and it's become a permanent fixture. So it kind of showed me that there's an inherent appetite in this market for innovation, for ideas, but somehow there is no organized system for actually encouraging and developing this innovation the way it should be. And I'm not just talking about innovation from a tech point of view, but innovation from ideas in general.
Right.
No, but if you look into it, right, while all these things is happening, tell me 10 names which can scale, which has done a scale. See, we have got great ideas which are happening, right? But these are all small scale. Nothing is coming out which can rapidly grow, scale, you know, nationwide or go international. Everything is happening across in that small ecosystem. Nobody has an escape velocity where they have, you know, really broken out and gone into the next orbit. That's the struggle. While we have got great startups, many things are happening across. Nobody is having that escape velocity. And primarily, that this is all about the cultural issues, right? So if you look into it, while we were kids even, we would say, be a good boy. What does it mean? Don't question me. Do as I say. This is how you behave. That's not entrepreneurs do, right? They challenge everything. This is how I will disrupt. The mindset has to be about challenging the status quo. That needs to be developed, especially from the education institute side, right? But whatever is written in the books need not be true.
Yeah, so I'll just interject a little bit. I'm just going deeper into the psychology, because end of the day, a startup ecosystem starts with aggregation of psychology of stakeholders, be it the entrepreneur who's starting, the investor who's putting the risk capital, the society, the way it takes it, etc., etc. So since the topic is ecosystem, I'm trying to go there. If I interject you and say, you know what, Bengal has been at one point in time the epicenter of some of the disruptive revolution, being the outlier, go against the norm and do all those kind of stuff. I mean, Bengalis have done that. Why did that not percolate down when it comes to business? What is the reason? It's not that inherently we are not challenging the norm, we are not challenging whatever is going on. So what exactly has gone wrong from that revolutionary Bengal, the Bengal tiger, who can challenge anything, who can eat anything, who will die, who will do anything for a cause or a purpose? Why did that spirit not come in making business, starting companies? And Mousumi, I would leave this question to you. As an academician, having managed so many students that has gone through your school.
I would say the cycle time has shortened probably. The students, if you talk about youngsters, we want things fast. He wants people to scale up fast. Students want a cycle. For instance, the Aritra's case that he was talking about, if I link that up with the scale that Mr. Mehta was talking about, fusion food could be so big and so scalable and could transit all geographical boundaries.
Right.
So why don't we take this up? I would say that when we go to investors probably do not have a very comfortable factor when they look at the state of West Bengal as of now.
Right.
In fact, I'll again, I do not know whether I'm giving too many personal anecdotes, but I can't help it, which is when we spoke about funding for our healthcare system, education, as you know, that you have to form a trust or a society, so people like Mr. Mehta wouldn't be interested in probably investing in a trust or a society. You understand the reasons. But healthcare could have been done that way. We could have formed a company, but we were compelled to form a trust because it is the education trust who had to fund the healthcare trust. Why? When we went to investors, there were I think 3 or 4 questions. One, we are not happy and we are not very comfortable coming to West Bengal. I'm being very blatant today.
Yeah, did you ask them why?
The reasons are known.
Okay.
I wouldn't talk about them here.
Yeah, please, let's hear that.
2, they said we are not very, very happy with the healthcare scenario because not many, in fact, they named one healthcare institution who's making profits. Others are not. They were not happy with the healthcare sector. For instance, then, to begin with, the question of outlier doesn't come in. I'm not given cognizance that, okay, I've proved myself for 15 years in education. Even then, the question arises, you have to follow the beaten track. So that's that. And of course, the third one was that we are new, the startup, the greenfield, whatever you talk about. So we said, fine, fair enough, let us go ahead a little, and then we'll go to people like Mr. Mehta.
So good. So I think it's emerging as very clear thought. Currently, the situation is that there is a significant amount of people, and I've talked to a lot of youngsters here in Bengal, who want to start. I mean, for the first time, they are saying, you know what, I don't want to take a job, I want to try. I want to try a startup. At the same time, there has to be angels who will move away from that skepticism that nothing works in Bengal and then allow those startups to at least spring and spawn. So I think both these two things constitute the ecosystem, which is to support the ambition. The question is now for the audience, and I'll throw it. If I talk of ambition, do you think that there is a lack of ambition in Bengal? Or is ambition a problem? Or is capital a problem? Or is attitude a problem? So, question for you. Yeah, can we get a mic there if it's possible? Yeah. Just can you hold on for a moment? I mean, just we can pass on a mic there.
Yeah, my idea is that whether be it Bengal, be it Maharashtra, be it Bangalore, there are no good startups. There are no good startups. Okay. They don't scale to the. There is not a good enough business model to become a startup. You cannot become a Google. You cannot become a Yahoo. You have to have a good business model. Even if you have a good business model, it is geography independent. It doesn't matter where you're shooting it up. Only thing is that in the ecosystem, if you do a manufacturing or a technology startup in a government environment which has a lot of restrictions and a lot of validation and a lot of verification, then that is a problem. Okay, if you do not, most ecosystems in places like Bengal, you will have a process. If you have a process startup, you will go through fine. If you have a manufacturing startup, if you have a technology startup, you will not go through fine.
Okay, understood. Okay, understood. So can we get some questions from the audience? If we, questions, please. I mean,
I'll just add something. Yeah. It's not just about Bengal. It's about India. Till the time we don't overcome this mindset of our parents, study or you will fail, practice or you will lose. Pado nale fail hoye jabe.
Right.
Until unless we do not overcome this, we will not have great startups coming out. We will not have entrepreneurs ecosystem growing.
So how do we change that? So if on the one hand, if you have an ambition of building, let's say, a California out of this place, or a Silicon Valley, or maybe a Paris, or maybe a London, where a lot of startups are born there, how do we change this?
So we have to start celebrating failures also. We have to tell them, learn from your failure and move ahead. What mistakes you have done, learn from that, and do not repeat that.
Absolutely. Freedom to fail.
So let me share the mindset, right? We need to start inculcating and philosophy, right? And we'll find a way. You put either way, other way, up, down, it will find a way. So it is like never die attitude. Second, while it is summer, they think all winter, right? They will collect lot of the food and they will preserve. So in good times, they will always save. In winter, they think all summer, which means when the bad times are there, they keep themselves ready for the sun and the sand to roll upon. And finally, they never stop at gathering food, which means that if their quota is achieved, they don't count. They keep on working. They do as much as it is possible. So idea is, can you consistently find alternate ways to restore your goal, think across for the bad times and preserve in the good times, and finally do all you can, right? If you focus on that mindset, there are opportunities which will build up for entrepreneurs.
Sure. Actually, for becoming Ola or Uber, everybody has to start. So being a government, we have to keep promoting the startups And because as far as I know, that
government put rules on Ola and Uber. It's not helping.
No,
it's stopping Ola and Uber.
What I would like to say that even in Silicon Valley, I think as far as I know, the success rate is not more than 5%. So in Silicon Valley also 95% fails. But in India, this culture is growing, and being a government, we have to keep this motivating our new entrepreneurs. And we are trying not only the technology field, we are also trying in the field of social sectors, tribal arts, biotechnology in Jharkhand. And there is one good news that around 10 startups from Bangalore, they have already applied for our Jharkhand Innovation Lab, because they just not want to promote their idea. They just also want their market to field trials. So they think that in Jharkhand it is easy for their field trials, and from the government they expect that we are going to
I understand. So let's try to focus on the topic, and we understand Jharkhand is doing some excellent work. Aritra, you had some points to make. So I thought, and then I'll go back to the audience.
Just one point, which is I think that we should focus on our core competence, our strengths. And fundamentally, the way I see it, we have not been historically good at doing business. We've been also technology was typically not our strength. We have been more creative. We have been more creative and more artistic. And possibly that's an area which we need to build on and marry the upcoming waves and improvements in technology to take it to the next level, I think. Because there are so many Bengalis who are actually doing very well, both abroad and in other industries, in the worlds of fashion, in the worlds of music, in the worlds of film, and even in software development. When I went to Google and Facebook last year, I saw there were many Bengalis working there in the engineering department. So obviously the talent is there, and it just needs to be, I think, harnessed in the right manner.
Yeah, I think you have some point to make.
One is just adding to what he just said is there's something called geographical competencies, which are more prevalent in one part of the region than the other. That's something you can build on. And one more thing is, we talk about all kinds of opportunities, but how many people like Mr. Mehta are around? Angel investors, venture capitalists, and all that. This is another part of the whole ecosystem which is extremely important. Thanks to governments who are deciding to patronize all this right now, but the other part, which is the private sector part, that's missing totally. So how will people get forward?
Okay. You are so correct. For instance, forget future, IIT Kharagpur couldn't do what Santa Clara University. We need money.
Right.
Those people got so much of money from Santa Clara as a research grant.
Yeah. So therefore, capital, competence, risk, ambition.
There are questions.
Yeah, I think let's go back to the questions.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
2 points. 2 points.
Can you stand up?
Sure.
Yeah.
2 points. One is, I think the mindset of sticking with jobs, do a small job rather than go into a big risk, that has disappeared from Bengal. Today's youngsters are willing to go at it, venture out. But the problem is capital.
Problem is what?
Capital.
Capital. Okay.
Most of them don't have money, but they have the ideas. Countering your observation that we are not great technologists, I'm sorry. In Bengal, we are some of the best technological brains that you can get anywhere in the world. And there's a lot of entrepreneurship there. We ourselves have built a system which is going to rock the IT world, okay? So, and that's all done in Calcutta. From conception to finish, it's all Calcutta, right? So, I don't think that's a real problem. One of the reasons somebody compared with California, okay, one of the reasons why Silicon Valley has progressed so quickly and so rapidly is the easy availability of angel funds.
Right.
Which is not there here. Right. I mean, if the angel investors...
So to attract funds, you need right entrepreneurs. What I saw right now does not qualify anything for investment.
I also had a quick glimpse and ran away from here, but that's not what it's all about. I mean, there are good projects, there are good systems, but I think if the angel investors will be more forthcoming, like they are in California, you'll have a much better ecosystem.
Okay, let's take an example. Let's say angels invest between 5 to 25 lakhs in an investment in the very early stage. And let's say we get a couple of angels who come and support maybe 10 ideas or 20 ideas, let's say in Bengal. Why do they still feel scared that this is a money that will go waste? What is the reason behind it?
No,
Yeah.
Actually, what has happened is that I don't feel India, West Bengal has got a lack of people who are having ambitions. Venture capitalists, I don't feel that it's not there. It's not that they are also available. But one thing, when somebody wants to start up something in West Bengal, there are certain formalities to be cleared. Even for a building clearance, you have to go to the building clearance people and then get the building clearance. For electricity, you have to go to a separate place. For getting permission to start an industry, you have to go to a third place. What other states are already doing or they have done is a single window clearance for such entrepreneurs where starting from finance to all the permissions will be given so that they can spend time on their core competence and set up the industry rather than trying to spend time and money on those other things. And I think there are some states which have already been done, and a similar initiative is also being taken by the state of West Bengal, which may be announced shortly. So this is something which will help.
Actually, just 1 minute, please.
Who's this?
Yes. Actually, angel investors and venture capitalists want 10 to 20 times their return. So that's why their support, I think, the support is very late.
Angel investment is not charity. It's not donation. We are not donating money.
That is the reason the government of Jharkhand has come up with the a project of 1,000 crore venture capital fund, and for this financial year we have already allocated 50 crore, and there is also very easy exit route in case of failure. So we are trying.
Mr. Narendra Modi did 10,000 crore. Tell me one startup getting funded.
Actually it will take time to we are trying to create the platform. And we are quite hopeful that by the end of this financial year, we will able to be one of the best innovation and incubation centers in India.
Okay, thank you. I think we are running out of time, and we know we have started late and we need to wind up. So I thought I'll just summarize a little bit. It very clearly is apparent and evident that Bengal is a seed of talent, and they are having their flags held high in various parts of the world, including companies like Google's and the Ubers and the Netflix of the world. And I've seen so many of them successful, doing wonderful. There is some challenge that Bengal has gone through, but I think the ingredients are ripe in terms of talent, in terms of capability, but we need to work a little bit on the psychology and the attitude. And of course, we need to have some good angels who love Bengal, who want to give back. It is not just pure money return. Many a times you should have a philanthropic view that I want to build something, some success stories out of Bengal, and that's why I'm personally going to invest in some of the startups that I'm thinking of. And in fact, when I talked to Aritra and Mr. Pupuro, I mean, I agreed that I would like to do that and support this venture. I would like to end with one thought, and I think Bengalis are very good at imagination, romanticism, and hope. We never lose hope. We may go to the doldrums, but we will always spring back and come back. That is what history says. And I'll start and end with a poetic finish, if I may. Asha chilo, bhalobasha chilo, aaj asha nei, bhalobasha nei. So if I have to translate that in English for some of the people who are from outside, is when I have hope, the love switch is on. In absence of hope, love is gone. So love is yet not gone from Bengal. That's what I want to conclude. And I think with all this thought, if we all work together, get 5 angels, get 10 investments, and make those as success story, let 5 fail, doesn't matter. If all fail, doesn't matter. Let's start the journey. And that's how an ecosystem gets built. I think thank you very much. Have a wonderful evening. Thanks to all the panelists.
And on that beautiful thought, by our chairperson. We'd like to thank our panelists and our chairperson. May I request Mr. K.K. Mahapatra, Organizing Secretary, INFOCOM, and Associate Vice President, IT Infrastructure Business Private Limited, to kindly come forward and present mementos to our panelists and our chairperson. We thank you, Mr. Shafquat Haider, sir. Thank you very much for being here with us and sharing your thoughts. Thank you, Mr. Aritra Sarkar. Thank you very much, sir. We thank our chairperson for this session, Mr. Aparup Sengupta. Thank you, sir. Dr. Mousumi Ghosh, thank you, ma'am, for being here with us. Thank you, Mr. Sanjay Mehta. Thank you for your inputs. And Mr. UP, sir, thank you very much. This has been a wonderful session.